Hi, how's it going? My name is Joe Baldwin. For anyone that doesn't know me, um, I'm the person that's been charged for assault and public order in relation to an incident in a biogas plant in Garton, County Galway, back in January of 23. Um, I've decided to make this video because I feel the media haven't really come out with the truth in relation to the case, and also to give some reason behind it. Um, it all kind of started out, we found out, neighbours and people in the area, that there was a planned biogas plant and they wanted to raise awareness to it and try and raise a few pound to make a High Court challenge on the Board Planala's decision. And I decided that evening just to try and make a statement, especially to the two local government TDs, that weren't acceptable. Like, they were back in a government that decided they'd vote in 2021 for a climate action plan, which really realistically was a rollout of over 200 of these plants in the country. But anyways, getting back to the case, since the last day, it has emerged from the court case on the 13th of September, it has emerged that in the media that Anne Rabbitte was not struck by the bag on the night, as she said on several media broadcasts around the time of the incident. Now, it's my opinion and it's my solicitor's opinion, and he has asked the judge to throw the case out because there was a video footage used that was only brought to our attention a week before the case, and was only brought to the guards' attention, or the guards seeked or got it themselves, in January of this year. Now, the DPP had never seen this footage. There's a number of lies in Anne Rabbitte's statement and what she said in court. But the first one is the main one. Like, she didn't get struck by the bag, but yet on the night she went to the guard station, she told the guard on duty she got struck. She also said that Kieran Cannon got struck, which she didn't. And then the following day on Galway Bay FM informed the general public that she got struck, and then made a statement, a caution statement, a number of days later, saying that she got struck by the bag also. Now, this wasn't over clear until this video footage came through, so it was actually misleading to the DPP. The DPP didn't know whether she got struck or not. The second thing that came out also was that on the night and on Twitter and the following day, and in her statement, she said that she waited over 10 to 12, 13 minutes for the organisers of the event to call it out before she went on Twitter. And she felt that she needed somewhere to vent her anger or whatever, And also had said that the legs were got out from under her, she couldn't feel her finger, her hands or toes or whatever, and that she was in fear. Now, this video footage was shown the last day in court on the 13th. It showed the guard in question on the day played the video footage, and he stopped just straight after the bag fell on the ground. I asked my solicitor that day, could he ask the judge to play it on? There was about another 2 minutes in it, and he played it on, and exactly straight after, Anne Rabbitte took the phone from her pocket and went on Twitter. Now, in Anne Rabbitte's caution statement, a few days after the incident, which should be fresh in her memory, she said that the incident took place at 8:10, and she waited until 8:21, which is a total of 11 minutes before she went on Twitter. Now, that was a complete and utter lie that the DPP, this is her caution statement that was sent to the DPP, and it was misleading the DPP, but she also misled the public in relation to the time frame of when she did go on Twitter. The third thing, which was also misleading to the DPP, was she said in her statements, I only realised this a few days beforehand, before the court, and I read through all the statements. She said in her statement that a number of minutes before that I spoke, that I bumped into her. Now, I looked through all the CCTV footage from Sullivan's Hotel, and at no point was I anywhere near or close enough to Anne Rabbitte to actually bump into her. It was just pure fabricated lie. And this again was also sent to the DPP, which the DPP could actually misconstrue or think that as an assault if they wanted to. But at the end of the day, it was just more lies. The fourth issue, throughout this case, Anne Rabbitte has put this fear of being attacked or whatever in the whole lot. In her statement, she said that she had met Joe Byrne, a local councillor, and that he had said I was from Ardran. Now, for years I've known Joe Byrne. Joe Byrne knows I'm from Gart, and my family is from Gart. But she fabricated this story that she was in such fear that she had to drive. She was running low on petrol or diesel, and she had to go to another town. She had to drive as far as Loughrea to fill the car. Now, I looked through the CCTV, and she didn't leave the hall that night until 9:40, 9:36, 9:38, something like that. Go winter's night, defrost your car, go to the Garda station, and went and met the guard and wanted to put it on record. Now, I'm 39 years around Gart, and for the last 9 or 10 years, petrol stations are closed in the town at 10 o'clock. In court on the 13th of September, she gave this lovely little story how she was in fear and couldn't drive to the petrol station. But the fact of the matter, she said in court, under oath, that she left the Garda station at 10 o'clock. Now, she left the Garda station at 10 o'clock that night. Every petrol station was closed. She had no other option but to go to that town. But again, like all the other stories, bumping into her back, the bag actually hitting her, it's just all complete and utter fabricated lies. The other major issue that I have with this case is the way it was actually investigated. After a few days, it was all over the papers, all over the media, and I rang the Garda station and I said, what's happening here, or what's going on with this? And the guard rang me back a few days later, and he said, you'll have to come into the station and make a statement and say that you don't make a statement, or either say you have no comment to make in it. So I told the guard, I said I'll be in of a Friday evening, I think it was, and I went in and said that I didn't wish to make any comment on the matter or whatever, and that was okay. So he walked me outside the door of the station, and he told me how he was talking to people, or they were looking for witnesses, and there was no one came forward, that there was only the two politicians, and he actually said to me himself that he felt it was all blown over, and that he had spoke to a number of the local councillors and they didn't wish to make a statement. And he said to me, why don't you just go and prepare a statement and bring it in if you want to, and you can do it that way. So I went home and I said to myself, you know, he seemed to be fairly sound, could trust him. Like, the whole thing was, I was watching for days and days that the state, you're the Minister for Justice, through Harris or whatever, you know, all the Garda, the Commissioner, all pushing this had to be dealt with, this had to be dealt with. So I went home, rang up and told him the following Sunday or Monday I'd come in and make a statement, wrote out my statement and made it. And a couple of weeks later, then I was speaking to a friend of mine. Now we fairly well up in politics as well as everything else. And he said to me, who was investigating it? And I said, it's Sergeant Cloonan. And he said to me, you're joking. I said, hi, what do you mean by that? Like, and he said, Sergeant Cloonan is a nephew of wife of the former Fianna Fáil TD that Anne Rabbitte replaced. And I was like, jeez, there's over 40, 50 guards in the Gartlock Ray area. And I was like, it did dawn on me, like, why is it, how is it? Is it a coincidence, or is it just... I couldn't figure out how this guard actually ended up investigating this case, and with the connections that's there. So I let it go along and didn't say anything. And then a couple of weeks there before the court on the 13th, I was looking at the CCTV footage to see could I see anything wrong. There was between the statements, whatever. And there was 3 different camera angles. And 2 of the cameras were, the footage was collected from them, and it was collected from 7 o'clock in the evening right out until 11 o'clock at night. And the 3rd camera then was collected from 7 to about 8:40. Now, Anne Rabbitte on radio and public broadcasts made a big issue of how I wasn't turfed out of the meeting, and that I stayed in the meeting and it was intimidating and the whole lot, right? But after that incident, 20 minutes later, around 8:42 or 8:43, I had walked out and I went out for a cigarette for about 4 minutes and came back in. Now, and this camera where the footage was actually stopped at 8:40, about 30 seconds beforehand, that would show me leaving and spending the rest of the night there, not intimidating Anne Rabbitte or anything. The footage was exactly cut 30 seconds beforehand. Now, I find that a big coincidence that the other 2 pieces of footage are there, played right through the night, and the one camera they can show that I walked out, came back in, didn't say anything, didn't do anything. I just, like everyone else, listened to the rest of the speakers for the rest of the night and walked away and left at the end of the night without causing any trouble. As regards the witnesses that was brought forward, there was none of the 3 local councillors of the area made statements. There was appeals made all over Mayo Radio, Limerick Radio. Like, if someone's house was broken into in the morning or someone was assaulted in the middle of Garter Galway, you wouldn't have as much outcall for witnesses. But the state had 8 witnesses. A number of them was the organisers of the committee, and there was 1 or 2 personal friends of Anne Rabbitte and Kieran Cannon, and a Fine Gael councillor from 10 miles away, who's actually retiring, and another Fianna Fáil councillor who would be probably a personal friend of Anne Rabbitte as well, from about 20 miles away. And even though the state brought all these witnesses in, every one of them corroborated that they didn't see her getting struck by a bag, and also the fact one or two of them didn't even realise the incident had happened until after the meeting. So to actually say that there was public order and the close and personal friends of Anne Rabbitte didn't even realise that it happened until after the meeting is a bit too much to go saying that there was a public order incident. On the night, I wouldn't be a great public speaker, but I spoke, but I didn't speak with any anger. I called out the 2 or 3 issues that I thought was wrong, and had a few interactions over and back, speaking to Kieran Cannon, before I decided to just toss the bags in front of them on the floor or whatever. It was a complete and utter waste of state money. They drove down to Anne Rabbitte's house, drove to Kieran Cannon, brought all these witnesses in to prove nothing more that she didn't even get hit by a bag. Getting to the reason why I actually went to make that statement that night of bringing a bag into Sullivan's, I was kind of fairly fed up. There's so much going on in the area of South Galway over the last 15, 20 years in relation to flooding, health, different things, and every time an election comes, the 2 TDs in question, promises, and nothing comes from it. Flooding is one example, and in one way it's really linked in now to the issue of how we've ended up with a biogas plant in relation to climate action. They went up to Dublin. Now, I knew going into that meeting that night they were going to argue the point, oh, we've nothing to do with An Bord Pleanála. But the end of the day, they went to Dublin on the 21st of June, or June 21, and voted for a climate action plan. And in that plan, there was a rollout of the likes of biogas plants, solar panels, gas burning, wind energy, the whole lot. But as rural TDs, and like every other rural Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and Green Party TD all over the country, where do they think, when they were voting for these, where do they actually think they were going to be built? They're not going to be built inside in the middle of the city. They're going to be built in rural communities, damaging tourism, damaging people's doesn't want to have their privacy or their beside their house or their views being blocked, or they didn't really think. They just voted for it, said yes, that's grand. But then to come back into Gart or into any other town in the country and turn around and say, oh, we support you, you don't have to have it. You voted for it, they voted for it in the first place. At the moment in East Galway, there's this, and it's still ongoing, the biogas in Gart. There's gas burning towers or something going to be, they're talking about building them up in Anne Rabbitte's own area of Portumna. And in North Galway, there's talks of spreading wind farms all over some of the finest agricultural land in County Galway. In relation to health, about a year and a half before that, my father was diagnosed with motor neuron disease. And from the date he was diagnosed, he passed away about 6 months after. Now, for the first 4 months, he was in hospital. And what I had seen Um, inside in the hospital was absolutely deplorable. It was ridiculous. Staff were overworked. I was travelling in and out every day before I went to work. And the other issue was I was going in traffic. And that leads back the ring road in County Galway, right? Or the ring road in Galway City. The major stop to that is this climate action plan. Now, you'll hear the TDs in Galway City and Galway East talking about the ring road, but we never hear the two government TDs in East Galway. That ring road affects people in Athenry, Tuam, Portumna, Gart, Loughrea as much as it affects anyone else. If someone has to go into work from any of these towns every day and spend an extra 30, 40 minutes, an hour in traffic, it's affecting their life. They can't get home to their kids in the evening. It's 2 hours of their day gone every day for the whole year. Plus, you have traffic fumes bellowing up into the sky, and that's not helping the planet either. But in relation to the hospital, in relation to my father, and what I'd seen in there, he needed, he had to get a trachea, and he wanted to come home after 4 months, but there was no facilities in the community. There was no nurses, there was no nursing homes nearby. They had the facilities to deal with him. And we had to train as a family to actually insert a pipe in his neck to vacuum whatever, like every few hours or every 2 hours or 1 hour, 24 hours a day. Now, he would have been happy enough to go to a nursing home, but the fact was there weren't even nurses trained in the nursing homes to do it. But yet, as a family, we had to do it. A few weeks previous that evening, I had to go to A&E inside in Galway. I seen an elderly man, wheeled out of triage back out into the waiting room where there was a door left wide open. He was left sitting in a trolley sitting in a wheelchair for 2 or 3 hours. No jacket, he was shaking with the cold, and only for the few people that was inside in A&E, one woman handed him a jacket, another 2 ladies went across the road to get a warm drink for him. Like, there was no due care and attention to that man sitting there inside an A&E at his age, just left there. He was basically just thrown there. And another occasion, I seen a young girl, she had an allergic reaction. Now, I didn't know it. She was pushed back out of triage, out into a waiting room, crying and roaring. And I mean, this girl was in serious pain. And she was actually biting down. You could hear her breaking her teeth. It was horrendous. But I asked, her father was with her, I said, he was putting I said, if it's her teeth, he said, I said, hot wouldn't, it actually cold would help it. He said, no, it's allergic reaction. He said, and she's in such pain, she's biting down and physically breaking her teeth. It was beyond, this girl shouldn't have been let back out and left thrown in a waiting room. Like, the standard of healthcare inside UCHG is just, and like every other place, Limerick is just as bad. Like, 1,000 people a month on trolleys is absolutely ridiculous. As regards, we've been promised a health centre for years in Gart. Over 2 or 3 years ago, I had to bring a cancer patient in for treatment after a surgery, and I seen a nurse treating patients inside in a small little stock room, and boxes falling down on top of the patients while she was trying to remove stitches or whatever, Like, primary healthcare centre was promised to our town 8, 9, 10 years ago. There isn't even a word of it from the two TDs. As regards crime in the town, I've seen neighbours' farms broken into. I've seen 1 woman, 2 women up the road that live on their own. 3 times have been broken into. For a finish up, they just end up sleeping in an armchair. They were in such fear that someone would break into their home. I seen 10 houses in one road broken into and not a sign of a guard. 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a meeting in Sullivan's in relation to iPass, and Anne Rabbitte was at that meeting, and I think she said to one of the organisers, I think the guards should be called. Within 2 minutes, there was 3 squad cars outside the door of the hotel. But yet, when a farmer's trailer is broken into or farmer's machinery is taken, someone's house is broken into, a shop is broken into, it is about a half an hour or 45 minutes before you can even see a squad car outside the door. These TDs just don't have their priorities right. Like, Anne Rabbitte is Minister for Children, Minister for Disabilities. I personally know of 5 people that have children with autism, and they have to travel up to 20-25 miles with their kids to go to school. This is in our own constituency. Before the last election, an elderly couple that I know will be good friends with, this lady was terminal with cancer. Now, she was in Gart one day. She attended one of Anne Rabbitte's clinics and told Anne Rabbitte that she wanted to get a disability badge for parking in the hospital. Well, unfortunately, a month after she had met Anne Rabbitte, the lady passed away, and about 5 months later, the general election came up. And the week before the general election, her husband got a letter in the door with her name addressed in it, so he opened it, and it was from Anne Rabbitte saying, I'm still looking into that matter for you. I'd be very grateful for your support in the upcoming election next Friday. Now, I'm a long time around in politics. My father was into politics before me, but as regards having a TD in an area, and if they couldn't even get a disabled badge for a person that is really, really, really in such need for it, or do something about it, and to come along 4 months after they passed away and tell them they're still doing something about it, in my mind, that's not good public representation. All these things just got to me, and I said something has to be called out, and that was they were the couple of main reasons why I went into Sullivan's on the night, to try and make a statement and look, you have to go back to Dublin, you can't be putting up with this, and you have to start doing something. I am genuinely concerned when it comes to the community. I'm always trying my best for the community. A number of years, it was about last year, about a year before that, I had sold an animal here and tried my best. Just after my father passed, and I decided I'd do something just kind of in his memory, so I sold an animal, held an auction to try and raise some money for the local cancer group. I've climbed Crow Patrick in the past for cystic fibrosis, and I've part of my work in college. We also organise quizzes for Pieta House to raise some funds for them. And anybody in the community of Garth that knows me, if they come to me looking for something or looking for support in any charity or event, I'm always there to help them. And when I went in that night into that meeting, I went in with the idea that I was trying to do better. The one way this has really affected me, I've been accused of assaulting a person, and it really did get to me as I went up to court on Innis and Gart around the 24th, 25th of July to ask the judge, and I brought all this information to him where I found the case should be thrown out. And it got to the point when I was in Innis on the 24th that I actually did go out into the car, and I cried, and I just said, would I be as well off just driving out to the cliffs of Moher and throwing myself off it? because I was after spending 5-6 months. It wasn't too bad. I finished up a job last February, but the fact in the state decided to go and say there's a security issue. Or anyone that Googled my name could see this, and it's like, whatever about the assault, or whatever about throwing the bag or whatever, but you actually go along and say that I was posing a threat. At no point or at any stage through all this have I asked anyone to be standing outside a court protesting. I'm not, as I said, I'm not left wing or right wing, and all I had was in mind was thinking of my community. And like, the town of Gort, East Galway, has been so let down. We have no factories. People that I know with small businesses, everything's just shutting down. There's no investment or no money coming into the town or into the area, or no help from these TDs. Like, anything that's good in the area in relation to organisations helping people, or sports facilities, or like, it's all basically money that's gathered by the local people that have to go out and fundraise, and there's no genuine help, like. And health, roads, all the stuff that matters. Like, one of the two TDs, he's more interested in putting cycleways around the place than actually building or keeping roads in good condition for people to actually travel to work. Like, it's just, I cannot understand it. And the whole lot of it is that this case, in my mind, feels I'm being made a scapegoat for the likes of the people that's out there protesting, or far right, far left. I'm just an ordinary individual that was thinking of the small rural community that I live in, and from experiences in the past, I didn't want to see the likes of having a smell again in the area, and just want to live a normal day's life, and the same with everyone else in my community. And not one person has come to me since that night and told me that I was wrong. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Everyone has said to me, "You were right. You call them out," and they're basically your average, normal, decent, as Anne Rabbitte has stated plenty of times through her statement and stuff, the ordinary people, as she refers to them as. They're the people that thinks that I should not be up in court for this, and in my opinion, it's been totally driven by the state.